I was 17 just a couple of years ago. I first met this wonderful person to my right, and it's amazing, we're born, without going into trying to solve your birth data, because we keep that pretty close to us, we're born in the same year, no big remarkable thing there. Lots of people were born in that same fabulous year, so not only does this lovely lady and I share the same year pillar, but all in amongst them we're born in completely different times and parts of the year and all that sort of thing. But quite remarkably, out of that 365 days of the year, we also share the same day pillar.
Oh gosh.
And we've often said that we are the yin and the yang, you know. So, you know, I've got the fair, she's got the dark. I have a white dog, she's a dark, she's a black dog.
Black cat, white cat.
I'm well behaved and quiet. This was the lovely lady that, you know, I said I've got my best friend's Italian and she's taught me, oh, Juliana's not here, she taught me a word I had to say to her, I've forgotten what it is now. But aside from that, this lovely lady next to me, Ruana Segal, has been on a quest and a journey, as we all have for many years now as well. And her journey has led her into Western astrology, who she has trained with Brian Clark, and many of the other very big names, well-reputed names in the Western astrology area. Numerology, and of course she's a master of tarot. In 2010, the Executive Committee of the International Feng Shui Association invited Ruana to come to Singapore, where she spoke on numerology in front of about 800 people, and all the Grand Masters sitting in the front row. And let me tell you, she held her own. She flew the Australian flag for us. Since then, Grandmaster Tan has Ruana come back, and Ruana teaches at Way On Net, tarot master classes at Way On Net in Singapore as well. So she's truly gone international. In addition, she has her own numerology classes and teaches tarot in addition to all of that. So she has had a very, very long journey. So we thought, when we were exploring speakers that we would have this year, we thought it was really good to have a couple of complementary discussions as well. And I know that a lot of us have good knowledge of Western astrology, and some of us also may have some understanding or even throw a tarot card when we're doing our consultation. So we thought that this may be a very useful complementary talk, especially in the year of the snake. So we asked Ruana if she could talk about that. So today she has come to talk about the symbolism of the snake in the tarot and what the snake means for us today. So if you would please put your hands together and welcome
Thanks, Janine. I was very excited to talk about this. I love the heading, Ancient Art, Modern Medicine, and I thought, what can bring tarot and feng shui together? And I thought, oh, it is the year of the snake. We have lots of snake symbols in the tarot cards, so I thought it was appropriate to talk about what does the snake mean for us today. And so I hope that you're going to enjoy my presentation, and we're going to have some fun. So I hope you've got your pens and paper ready. First of all, I'd like to thank Janine and the IFSA committee for inviting me to speak here today. I'm very honoured to be part of this annual event. Well done. And because it is the year of the snake, let's look at the snake in the ancient wisdom of tarot, and let's dig a little bit deeper into the symbolism of the snake, open up to snake's wisdom, and how we use this energy today. So first of all, I want to share with you an experience I had at the beginning of this year. I went up to Noosa to celebrate New Year's up there. First time, I thought it was a good thing to do. And as I was unlocking the gate and the doors of this apartment where I was staying, unbeknownst to me, a snake was making its way down from a tree onto my handbag and suitcase. After I unlocked the front door and I turned around to retrieve the luggage, I thought there was this palm frond strewn across my handbag, and when I went to grab it, it moved. I jumped back, startled, because it was a snake. It was about 1.5 meters long, something like that. It looked at me. I swear, it jumped as well. and it moved faster, and it went underneath next door's gate. And I thought this was a good omen, being the year of the snake, and here I am seeing a snake. But as you know, everything has a positive and negative meaning, and I'll leave it at that.
It was
but
a warning.
It was a warning, you know, it could have been snakes in the grass. So, hang on, green, no, that's the green light, there we go. That's the snake that I saw, and that's what it looked like when it looked at me. That's exactly what it did. It looked at me, and it's found across the top end of Australia, and beautiful green, and it was so long, it was incredible. So, it's not venomous, thank God. But if I stayed there a little bit longer, still undoing that gate, it would have nicked me, because it was heading down towards my calf area. Anyway, the following day, as we went on our evening walk, we saw a rubber snake. I didn't know it was a rubber snake.
I got a feeling I got it.
It was real for me that night, but in the next day we found out that it was a rubber snake.
We thought it was real. It was dark.
It was, you know, and what a crazy experience in the year of the snake. You know, for years I lived on acres of property, and I saw lots of dead snakes. I saw lots of snake skins, but not one that close and alive as well. It's, you know, pretty special. And then when I arrived home, I heard a crazy story about a snake flying on a plane. Did anybody hear about that? Oh, yeah. There it is. It went from Cairns to Papua New Guinea, and you know, altitude, freezing temperatures took its toll on the poor snake. You can see the blood there on the top part of the plane, and it did arrive dead on arrival. So, but and again, you know, another crazy story in the year of the snake. And I've heard other stories that, you know, people have been driving and getting bitten while they're driving as well. So a lot of snake activity at the beginning of this year. At this point, before I go on, I'd like to thank all of you for being here this weekend. Education is paramount today. We are the next educators of the world. So it's a shame that the people that really need to be here aren't here, but you are, so kudos to us, and thank you. All right, let's begin. Now first have a show of hands. Who here has had a tarot reading? Oh, who here hasn't?
I'm a feng shui guy.
Surely Jerry included this year's snake
Yeah.
prediction, right? You already had a snake included.
Yeah, but not tarot though.
Okay.
Anyway.
Well, there's many tarot readers out there, and everyone does it differently, just like there are many ways of doing feng shui. So I recommend going to the Mind, Body and Spirit festivals. There's really reputable readers there, through the Tarot Guild of Australia, through the Australian, the Psychic Association of Australia as well. So I recommend any of the readers there. All right. So now I'd like to introduce you to the 22 major arcana. So the tarot has these 22 major arcana, and then the 56 normal playing cards that we're used to. And these guys here are also known, the major arcana are also known as archetypes. And you can see there are 3 lines, 1, 2, 3. The Fool's out there on his own because the Fool represents spirit, the hero's journey, the Fool's journey. And the first line we're looking at birth through to adolescence. And everyone will experience this, this line. The second line represents the adulthood line. Here we have the opportunity to take responsibility for our lives. Not everyone can. And then the third line is the line of wisdom. And this is quite, you know, I'd say everyone here today is travelling along, oops, where are we going? Is travelling along this line here because we are seekers, we are learning, we are searching. But look who the first character is that we have to encounter on this line of wisdom. And the devil represents our shadow qualities, and we don't want to see that part of ourselves. It's always easier to talk about the nice part of ourselves, but we don't want to see the heavy duty part of ourselves. So a lot of people can be stuck here in this card, temperance, or as far back as this card, The chariot represents the ego. I'm sure you know a few people that are coming from that ego or that alter ego. Or the temperance card, I think 80% of people are stuck here in this energy. For example, my mum and dad, let's use them as an example, they're in their 80s. They've worked, they've got their house, they've got the church around the corner, they've got the doctor up the street. They just talk about what they're going to eat every day and people visit. That's it. But for you and I, we want to know something more. There's got to be something more to just that. And that's, we have to face and own our shadow side to truly be the successful person out there in the world. You can see here on the bottom line, nearly everyone's naked. You know, you have to really expose yourself, really get to the core of who you are, where everybody on the top row has a crown, and the crown represents the ego or stature or, you know, some standard. But, you know, to bare your soul, so to speak, takes a lot of guts. You know? And, you know, will the real you please stand up, because you're a sister to one person, a wife to somebody else, a mother to somebody else. Who are you really? You know, it takes a lot of digging to have a look at who you really are. In the early 1900s, Carl Jung, like a good Leo, delved into his unconscious world for us. He's written many books about the shadow world, and he came up with the words like unconscious and archetypes and individuation. He was a student of Freud's, but he decided to follow his own beliefs. And I don't know if anybody saw the latest movie, A Dangerous Mind, where it was fantastic. I thought, I was excited to see what they were going to do with these two characters, and I wasn't disappointed. And it was a very intellectual movie. It's like you have to see it twice or 3 times to really understand what was being said. And for us to really understand the world of tarot, we need to understand what this word archetypes mean. So for my first question, or second question, what does archetype mean? Does anybody have an idea? Basic characteristics, yeah, good. Anything else? Well, let's break it down. Archetype, archaic, archaeology, and then type is a model or a basic standard. So archetypes are original molds, blueprints, and prototypes. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Like in dressmaking, when in dressmaking we have this basic A-line pattern for a skirt, and we can choose to make it more flared or make it more narrow, shorter, longer. But the original pattern or the major archetype is still the standard, the original pattern. Now these archetypes live in our collective unconscious. What do I mean by collective unconscious?
The group mind.
The group mind?
Yeah.
Excellent.
Or the symbols that we all share, that we respond to.
Yes. So the collective meaning everybody on the planet, unconscious. We're not even aware that we are doing it. So Carl Jung called the collective unconscious a source of wisdom that has purpose and meaning for us. So the language of the subconscious mind and dreams is symbols. And this is what connects us to tarot. And some time ago we all agreed that certain symbols mean certain things. And on some level we all apply these same understandings. We all share this agreement. It's that unconscious collective. It's primitive stuff that we're talking about here. So if we have a look at the next card, we have the Empress in the tarot that represents mother. Number 3 is mother, and she's the unconditional mother. So we know that there's all sorts of mothers, but when we say mother, everyone has this understanding of what mother is. Yet there could be smothering mothers. You know, there's aggressive mothers, and the Emperor represents father, and he's the conditional. We all understand what father is, but there's good fathers and there's strict fathers. But we all understand that father is the authority, and he's the one that sets the boundaries and structure for us. So when we look at the hero's journey, You could be looking here at the Star Wars Empire story. We've got Luke Skywalker, and he meets Mum and Dad, and then he meets Yoda, the wise man, and then he faces death, and then he has to face Darth Vader, his heavy duty stuff there, and through to creating a whole new world for himself in a different uniform. And we will all travel through this cycle in our own hero's journey. We will all reach these major milestones throughout our lives. The Egyptians called the major archetypes the royal road of life. All right, so now we understand archetypes a little bit more. Let's delve into the symbolism of snake. For the first exercise, I'd like you to just jot down 5 words to describe snake. Don't think about it, just rattle it off. Because as soon as you start thinking about it, that's your ego kicking in. You know, it's saying, that's not good enough, or no, that's not what it means. Just suspend all thoughts and write down 5 words. Thank you. All right, who'd like to share their 5 words?
I actually have 6.
That's okay, you can share 6. You look like you were straining to get 5 and now you've got 6. Yep, would you like to share?
I have slither, slime, slinky, sly, underhand, and medicine.
Very nice. Hands up those who had 2 or 3 of those words, same words. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. Melinda, would you like to share your words?
Kundalini, circle, rebirth, power, transformation.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. Hands up those who had those words, 2 or 3 of those words.
No, you're further up the journey.
Yeah, very good. Yeah. Who else would like to share? Yes, please.
Green, that's prompted by your
Yeah.
picture. Movement, agility, tongue, no ears.
But they're a little bit different again, aren't they?
Yeah.
I had wisdom, slithering, which was the same, long and thin, which I think you had similar, power and venomous.
I've got poisonous, yeah.
Poisonous, yeah. Hands up who had 3 or 4 there. Yeah, fantastic. So it's interesting that the snake usually gets a bad rap, you know, and this is coming from that collective unconscious that, you know, snakes in the grass business. I think if you look at that 80-20% rule, I think 80% of people look at the snake as, you know, negative or evil looking, whereas those that further up the chain might see it as, you know, the transformation and the symbol of wisdom and medicine. All right, so let's look at snake. So the best 3 words to describe snake in the tarot is wisdom, sexuality, and transformation. So let's look at the first word, wisdom. And I'd like to start by sharing the words of Joseph Campbell. Has anybody heard of Joseph Campbell?
Yeah.
Nice.
Beautiful. He's the grandfather of mythology. He said, you know, in India, they view snake as a positive transformation. The cobra is sacred there. It is childish to say that bad things should not have happened. Life is great just the way it is. Whatever you do, it's something evil to somebody. Participate in the poem. This is what myth does for you. It connects you to your transcendent. He was a wonderful teacher. I would have loved to be in one of his lectures. There's many books that he's written, The Power of the Myth. I recommend to have a look at him. He's got videos out there as well. All right, so let's start at the beginning, I suppose, where it all started for the snake in the Garden of Eden. Because it was snake. You can see snake there hiding in the tree behind Eve that told Eve and Adam to eat the pomegranate.
Yes.
Yes.
Not the apple.
It's not the
Pomegranate.
apple, it's a pomegranate.
Yeah.
And pom is French for apple, and granite is granules. So we know it was a pomegranate because way back then apples didn't exist. And I was lucky to watch a documentary. I love how things come to me at the right time for, you know, lectures. So I saw this wonderful documentary on apples, and apples really became big business when Johnny Chapman, also known as Johnny Appleseed, circa 1700, started grafting the apples. And he was responsible for spawning all the planting of apple orchards in the US. And it really became big business. And just like business today, someone always misses out. And to cut a long story short, the apple was blamed. And the apple went from eat an apple a day to keep the doctor away to becoming the apple that tempted Adam and Eve in the Garden of Eden. Interesting, I thought. If we have a look at the High Priestess card number 2, you can see the pomegranates in the back of her veil. And on the Empress, they're on her gown. The Empress represents mother, remember? So the pomegranate is also known as the fruit of love or the forbidden fruit. It represents the feminine reproductive system, the undeveloped creative potential, the seed. On the High Priestess card, yep, they're on her veil because she is meant to be pure and untouched. You can see that she's wearing the veil, and there's a veil there hanging between the two pillars, hiding the sea behind her. Her robes look watery, just like the sea behind her. She is virginal. She's meant to be like a nun. She represents all the single ladies. Whereas on the Empress card, we're looking at mother. The pomegranate is part of her. She's abundant, unconditional, and loving. You can see her legs are open too. Shows she's a bit of a floozy. And the red shoes poking out down the bottom of her dress.
She's a Sagittarian.
Loves the adventure.
No, those red shoes.
In the early, 1900s, if you wore red shoes, you were seen as what? Today it doesn't matter. But these cards came about and were created in the 1900s. So the red shoes on the female tarot card picture represent the woman's sexual organs because they are hidden inside. So you can see that they're just poking out under the dress all the time. So she's always portrayed as pregnant, the Empress, because her legs are open, the red shoes. So she's always about to give birth to something. Could be a baby, but also could be the birth of some creative endeavour. Here we have Arthur Edward Waite. Really 1900 pictures, aren't they? Gorgeous. I use two types of tarot cards through the presentation today, but also in my classes, and one of them is the Rider-Waite card, which is the most popular tarot card in the world today, the most recognised in the world today, has the best symbolism. And Arthur channeled the energy, and Pamela Coleman Smith, who was an artist, died very poor, but what a legacy she left behind. She drew the cards, and you can see her initial on all the cards. And I'm looking forward to the day where the name of the cards are the Rider or the Waite Coleman deck or something like that to honour her as well. And the myth deck that I'll be using is created by Juliet Sharman Burke and Liz Green, which my second love of mythology is totally encapsulated in these cards. So if we have a look at we've got the High Priestess again here, with the pomegranates, and here's the myth deck. She's holding the pomegranate in her hand. And this is, out of all the tarot decks out in the world today, this myth deck, the High Priestess of the myth deck, is my favourite High Priestess card. And here we're looking at the story of Persephone, who was kidnapped and taken down to the underworld, and you can see she's leaving the world there behind. She's going down, down, down into the underworld. And Hades, who kidnapped her, offered her this pomegranate. She didn't want to eat it at first, but then she realised that she couldn't be her mother's daughter all her life, so she did eat 3 granules of the pomegranate, and consequently becomes the goddess of the underworld. The number 2 also is about duality, and here we have the black and the white pillars, and also the cross is the symbol of duality as well. The cross is such a powerful symbol. It represents, I'm not just going to this side and I'm not just going for that side, but I'm going to combine the two together. The union of both, duality of both. And when we ate of that pomegranate, that's when we accepted, or we started, or we started with the duality. It was the birth of duality. You can see that they're both still wearing the white, representing the purity, the virginal. And in the myth deck, she is the link of not only the left side and the right side, but the above with the below as well, leaving the world behind there. When Persephone's mother found out that she was kidnapped, she was the goddess of agriculture, and she hit the roof, and she made everything die. And so there was a deal that was struck. So for 6 months of the year, she was allowed to come up to be with her mum, and we have spring and summer, and then for 6 months of the year, she has to go down into the underworld, and we have the autumn and the winter. In the Empress mythology card, you can see she definitely looks pregnant here. And you can see everything's green and lush, and the water flowing in the background, which is carried over from card number 2, the High Priestess. On the Empress card, you can see the wheat and the corn, which is the symbol of fertility in the front here, whereas on the myth card, it's kind of a dress as well. And also number 3 represents fertility, growth, green, growing, fertile. Put 2 things together, they'll always create a third. All right, so back to the lovers. Adam and Eve, when they were in the Garden of Eden, they were in total bliss land. They were blissed out. They didn't even know they were man and woman. They were totally unconscious, right? So, what does being naked mean?
Nothing blind, transparent.
Beautiful. Yeah. Absolutely. Open, exposed, free. Yeah. And the intimacy between a couple should be transparent, open and honest. This is another reason why they're displayed naked. So, snake,
It's happened a few times, Dad, so it's pretty sensitive.
It is.
Yeah.
So snake tempts Eve and Adam to eat the pomegranate, and when they did eat the pomegranate, what happened? They woke up. They became conscious. They covered up with vine leaves. And that was the point where the birth of duality became, and we accepted the black and the white, the yin and the yang, life and death. So what does it mean for us when we dream of snakes or critters? Has anybody dreamt of snakes or critters biting you, chasing you in your dream?
Not by,
Just there. Just there, aware of the snake. Very good. The snake or critters coming up from the deep, from the unconscious. I mean, how deep in the unconscious are they coming up from? Way deep, because they're unusual creatures. They're coming up to the surface to wake us up to something, to become more conscious of it. People normally go, I had a dream of a snake, oh my God, it chased me. And then when you explain to them that it's something from way deep inside of you that's trying to make you become aware or wake up or be conscious to some higher consciousness, it's a pretty powerful dream. Just know that your spirit is always trying to wake you up, right, to become more conscious. It's your ego that doesn't want to wake up to your spiritual side, because the ego feels threatened that you're going to chop it off. The idea is to do the cross thing, to make it work with you, to bring it with you. Together, you're going to get there quicker. But it feels threatened, and the Lord is putting that doubt and that fear. But spirit, trust spirit, will always throw up from the depths whatever it thinks it needs you to wake up. Let's bring this up for her. Let's make her dream about this. Let's see if she'll understand it or get it this time. No? Try again. So, back to the hero's journey. The dreams, just like tarot and feng shui, help us to keep our lives in balance. It's always about balance. Maybe we are out of balance, brought back into a balance, helps us understand something, to clear something. Maybe when we're really young, we couldn't do anything about it, but as an adult, as we are more mature, we can handle things better. Take that responsibility for it, maybe. Clear it up once and for all. You know, dreams are amazing. If you're feeling too high and mighty, hoity-toity about yourself, the dream will make you feel like you're a drunk in the gutter. You'll dream about a drunk in the gutter. Or if you're feeling low about yourself, it'll make you dream about flying. You're flying in the dream. It's bringing dreams. It's about balancing that conscious and that unconscious all the time. Dreams reset us, rejuvenate us, make us review and reassess our outer world. And the tarot is all about balance. Look at all the opposites in the card here. We're starting with the magician above with the below. He's pointing to the beautiful red roses and he's pointing to the garden. The black and the white here, well, that's the feminine and the masculine. We've got the two pillars there. We've got two priests here. And they can't make up their minds. So they've both gone to this guy to like help us work out which way to go. And he wears the cross. And what does the cross say? You've got to use both. You're both right. In the chariot, we've got the black and the white there. We've got the up and the down here, and the left and the right as well. We've got the sword and the scales. It's all about balance. You've got the lovers here again. The dog and the wolf here. It's all about balance. And if we look at the moon card, number 18 of the major arcana, here is that crustacean coming out of the pool. And the water represents the unconscious. It's a different world. I like to call this crustacean the psychic vacuum cleaner. And these creatures look quite alien to us. They live in the bottom of the sea, a whole other world down there. So what do crustaceans eat?
Other crustaceans.
Oh, the little ones.
They're scavengers. They eat anything that's at the bottom. So with the moon card, card number 18, that's on that wisdom line, here is another opportunity at this late stage of the journey to give us that opportunity to clean something that was way down deep in that unconscious. Clean it up once and for all. We thought we handled it, but no, up it comes. And it may take 20 years for it to come back up, for us to face again. It's just like, how do you hold a bubble underwater? You can't. It will always come up. So when we encounter snakes and these sorts of critters in our sleep, they're waking us up to that higher consciousness. Just like Adam and Eve when they woke up from the Garden of Eden. Hence, the snake represents wisdom. Another card that has a snake is the Seven of Cups. And cups represent something that's emotionally of value to us, and there's something in each of the cups. And there's the snake in that cup there. And, we think victory is the one sometimes, but look at that skull on the cup. What does the skull, whenever you see a skull and crossbones, what does that symbolise?
Death, danger.
Death, danger, pirates, beware, right? So maybe victory's not the one. But the snake knows which one it is, and it's pointing to the one that you will eventually choose. This is the unconscious self here because he's in the dark. So even our unconscious self has a conscious, is aware. Okay, let's look at the next word, sexuality. And here we've got the lovers again, now they're dressed. We're looking at the minor arcana, the Two of Cups. The minor arcana represent our everyday life. And the 56 cards that connect to the normal playing cards. And you can see here we have the snakes in the form of the caduceus, the symbol of healing, the symbol of alchemy, used in medicine today. Some people will call the caduceus the doctor snakes. The caduceus also represents our DNA helix. It's a symbol recognised all around the world. It's in that collective unconscious. We see it on emergency bracelets. chiropractic clinics, surgery clinics, chemists, ambulances, the little bracelets. And, you know, chemists today are our alchemists. Who's here heard of the Kundalini? Very good, thank you. The caduceus connects us to the Kundalini because the Kundalini connects us to the base chakra. We know of chakras? Yeah.
Yes.
So the first chakra is our base chakra, our sexual chakra, the most powerful chakra of them all. The symbol of the Kundalini is represented by the coiled snake. You can see here we've got the coiled snakes. And we've got the Kundalini here, the base chakra. And look what happens. We've got the snake. The symbol of the coiled base chakra is a coiled snake. And as you awaken your sexual prowess, your sexuality, your energy, your power, this double helix starts to happen. And here's another beautiful one. And I think that's what connects us to the caduceus as well. Beautiful. Don't you just love Google today? The images are fantastic. So the snake uncoils, rises up through all the chakras and creates the double helix or the caduceus. Back to the Two of Cups. We can see here, it is the card of balance. It's also known as the card of love. Pure balance. You can see the height of the man and the woman are the same, the cups are the same, the caduceus are the same. This symbol here, the head of the lion, which represents the full force of masculine energy, and the dove wings, the full force of feminine energy. You know, what a just equality. So the caduceus refers to the kundalini, or the sexuality between the two lovers. So we're looking at sexual attraction between these two, between the union, sexual union between these lovers. There's also a sentiment here in the card. You can see he's stepping forward, touching hers. Maybe he's offering something to her, the hand of a ring, card of, you know, offering, proposing marriage to her. And also another clue, we've got the base of the card is gold in colour. It's not really yellow, it's gold, and gold connects us to the divine, or the source, power, energy, and it's telling us that these guys are soulmates. This is when, you know, 80% of tarot readings today are all about relationships, and this is the card that you're hoping comes out for them, or this is what they're hoping for it to come out, because it's just pure balance and harmony. All right, let's look at the third word, transformation. Transformation, because the snake can shed its skin and renew itself. Just like Adam and Eve, becoming conscious, they renewed themselves. They transformed. So at this stage, I'd like to introduce you to the magician. He's the second of the major arcana. He's the first character that the fool meets on his life journey. And you can see that the magician wears the Ouroboros, which is the serpent biting its own tail. And the Ouroboros is sometimes it's seen as a snake, a serpent, or a dragon forming a circle, biting its tail, or eating itself. And it's symbolic of time, or the continuity of life and cycles, just like the phoenix coming out of the ashes, forever transforming itself. And above the head of the magician, we have the proper infinity symbol, which the proper name is Lemnis Gate.
How do you spell that?
L-E-M for Mary, I-N for Nelly, S-C-A-T-E. The Ouroboros symbolises a union or a link between two things. The Ouroboros is a bit more than just that infinity symbol, because it's linking two things together, two ends, heaven and earth, just like he points to the heaven and to the earth, to the outer world and inner world. From the Garden of Eden to Aztec's Quetzalcoatl, from the myths of Medusa to Cleopatra, in every culture, the snake has been there at the beginning and at the end of life. And the symbol of the Ouroboros can be found in all ancient cultures as a symbol of eternal cycles of life. Ancient China, in ancient Egypt and ancient Greece.
I think also in India
Everywhere.
they have that.
Absolutely. It's that collective unconscious symbol. So there's beautiful picture of the Ouroboros biting its own tail. And here we've got a Celtic knot, or, Chinese knots as well. Very powerful symbol. In the myth magician card, we have the wand as the caduceus, pointing. It's interesting, they've both got different arms pointing to the heaven and different hands pointing to the ground. That's a whole other subject. But it's all about linking that heaven with the earth, the union of two. He blends the spiritual with the practical through the mastership of the fire, earth, air and elements. So in the tarot we have the 4 elements, whereas in Feng Shui you use the 5th element of metal. And the 4 elements are represented by the wand, the sword, the cup and the pentacle. They are our tools. They are our resources. We are all born with these tools and resources. The magician in the myth deck is known as the alchemist, or Hermes. Hermes was a great magician. He founded alchemy. He had the wand of miracles. Apparently he would wave his wand and people would fall asleep. Very powerful. So what's alchemy all about? Transformation. It was a medieval chemistry attempting to turn base metals into gold to find the true elixir of life. It's an ancient practice and it's evolved or transformed with our times. We have chemists today that do this work for us, and we do live longer today. In tarot, just like in Feng Shui, it has changed to keep up with our times and the new generations. Even the church has to change. Everything is happening faster today too. I think the greatest threat to children today is MTV on television. I've been teaching tarot for over 20 years now, and tarot is a far more relevant tool today than ever before. It's used as a counselling tool. I know psychologists that use tarot in their practices, open up the conversation with their clients. More and more people are waking up. They want to know about tarot. They want to know about Feng Shui. In the late 60s, I think this is the true beginning of the age of Aquarius, we as a society started to revolt against the establishment. We wanted to know more, and we started to look deeper. We started to question. Tarot in the 60s really turned around from this fortune-telling gimmick to a truly psychological tool that we can use today as a guide to get us in balance, to understanding underlying causes, releasing blocks, discovering one's potential. What wonderful, empowering tools we have been shown, enabling us to take control of our life's journey. And the more we educate ourselves, the more present we become, and the more power we have to choose, the more present we are to choose what is right. So the magician is that part of us that has mastery over the material world through creative action, self-discipline, and the willingness to take risks. How many times have you said to yourself, well, it looked like a good idea at the time. I thought it was a good idea at the time. The ability to recognise one's own potential, the power to initiate. He is the master of, or we are the masters of communication and all our mental attributes and endeavours. How often do you hear, be careful what you ask for, you might just get it. And this is what the magician represents. That part of us that has the ability to manifest whatever we truly desire in our lives. But you first have to have the idea before you can act on it. And remember, what you think, you will ultimately become. So it's a very powerful energy. I remember in 2010, Janine brought it up before, when I was in Singapore at the Feng Shui conference, I met Grandmaster Yap.
Yep, Ching Hai.
Yap Ching Hai. Oh my God, he's also a mine's Dan Chikung master, so I don't know if you knew that. And so I followed him around like Grasshopper, you know how Grasshopper from Kung Fu shows. Followed him around all weekend, you know, just waiting to hear anything that he would say to me. And at one stage he just turned around to me out of the blue and he goes, "A fighter will never get into the ring unless he knows he's going to win." And, you know, today, you know that you're successful at that job interview before you even sit down and shake hands. You have that energy, you know something. This is the magician energy within you. When you tap into that energy, that's the magician at work. So we all have the willpower to transform ourselves into whatever it is we truly desire. The question you have to ask yourself, how much do you really want it? Why do some people win and others don't? Well, obviously they wanted it more. Which brings me to the Wheel of Fortune. Another card with the symbol of snake, you can see here. This is the Wheel of Fortune or the Wheel of Time. It revolves anti-clockwise. You can see the snake travelling down. When we're at the bottom of the wheel, there's all alchemical symbols there in Hebrew letters as well. We've got the Torah, which is the Hebrew book of knowledge. This is where tarot comes from as well, and all other words associated. You can make up lots of words with those letters. We're on the bottom of the wheel. We turn and we connect with that inner part of us, that inner critic, that inner counsellor. And the snake sheds its skin and it turns into the Anubis, heading on its way back up to the top of the wheel. And here we have the Sphinx holding the sword, and the sword represents the symbol of discrimination, and we can discern or we can cut away what is not working for us. So the Sphinx went down to the bottom of the wheel, consulted with the inner counsellor, and now the Sphinx is clear and can cut through any confusion and doubt. Also, the number 10 is all about the new beginning, the new cycle beginning again. In the World card, the last card of the Major Arcana, we have what a beautiful symbol here. We have the Ouroboros here, demonstrating that we've come full circle and we're returning back to the beginning, ready to go around again on another level. And just like the snake shedding its skin and transforming itself into something new. Remember, the Ouroboros always represents the union of opposites, the two ends meeting up. And what a wonderful image here. In the World card, we've got this two-headed person, the union of the male and the female coming together, or a partnership being in perfect balance. Carl Jung, the word individuation, this is truly exemplified in this card, truly coming together of our two parts of ourselves. And in the Rider-Waite card, we have the victory wreath, the laurel. We see this victory wreath at Grand Prix races, car race, horse races. Where else do we see the victory wreath?
Athletics. Yes. The Olympics.
Yes, where else?
On coffins sometimes.
We do, yes, honouring one's life cycle and going back to the source. Christmas,
Yes.
yeah, on the door of, we put them on the door, absolutely. So, and also successful people wear laurels or wreaths around their heads. Caesar, angels, they wear a type of a laurel around the head as well, symbolising successful leader, the sort. So, which brings me to the successful completion of my presentation. So, is snake relevant in society today? I think so. We're still dreaming about it. Snake energy is your base chakra energy, your most powerful energy. How do you close that off? The symbolism of snake is in our psyche, we dream of the snake, remember, it's always waking us up to a higher potential. It's demanding we pay attention to our innermost desires. And I'd like to leave you with the beautiful words of T.S. Eliot. We shall not cease from exploration, and the end of all exploring will be to arrive where we started and to know the place for the first time. Thank you once again to the IFSA committee and to all of you for giving me this opportunity to share a little bit of my world of tarot with you all, and how tarot, along with feng shui, both enrich our lives.